Now playing top lane for Griffin, of course, and with Plex there, who's over in the LPL. Really talented players, and was the first KEG team to actually win a match in the Kesper Cup, which is huge news. And Pop is very talented, although very young.
I agree. I think Pop just needs a bit more experience underneath him, but a player to certainly watch. Now, as we head into Draft Select, for our brand new viewers who have never seen these types of teams, Mega are your Thai team. They came through the LST as the Thai representative, and they have the Thai trio in Rocky, Lloyd, and G4 on the top side of the map, and then a Korean duo in Daewoo down there, whereas HKA, obviously our LMS representative, have never been to an LMS finals, but we're the team that finally put the nail in the coffin for the Flash Wolves. They went through the Flash Wolves in the regional qualifier to be here. They are the only major pool seed to never make it, or to actually be denied making it out of play-ins. So there's a lot of
yeah, some pride on the line here for HKA. And speaking of things on the line, on the top line of your screen, as you can see right there already, most of the bands coming in, Gragas, Olaf, and Kiana, very jungle-focused on Mega's side, as the Pantheon, of course, going to be taken away. The Elise going to follow up, as five junglers, in theory, have been taken off the board, with the LeBlanc from the mid lane going to be the only one to buck that trend.
And I am in complete alignment here. Take away everything from Crash. You heard Ender talk about this guy on the analyst desk. While Crash isn't necessarily always set up for success, I think that he is kind of the consistent shining light on the HKA squad for me. He's not necessarily a dueling-oriented jungler, but when he sees his opportunity, he'll take it. But he is just a very solid, mechanically gifted player.
Yes, certainly was. I don't want to remember back to too much information about Crash. Of course, was on Longju before he decided to go to a whole bunch of different regions, and didn't necessarily do the things that we wanted Crash to do when we were so excited about him. But already, so many picks coming in. Renekton going to be yet again the first pick option here. No ability to pair that with an Elise, and it is going to be still early game. The focus on Mega's side, of course, something that we were expecting from this squad, as the Thresh comes out as well to try and combat that Rakan that's already been locked in. And Crash, he has got that mechanics check in the Lee Sin already locked away, and this Xayah would certainly be something we'd be expecting in the hands of Eminem.
But I do want to kind of quickly point out the order in which they were picked. You normally never see the Rakan as such high priority. I mean, people can think back to the Fnatic versus G2 final, but that matchup was very, very different. Usually you see the Xayah prioritized, because when you separate the Rakan from the Xayah, it's harder to find a winning matchup for Rakan. Usually you just, maybe you can do like an Ezreal Rakan, or even like a Lucian Rakan. It's about like that poke. So to see Xayah kind of left open and the higher priority on the Rakan makes me really curious if Daewoo just doesn't feel necessarily as confident on the champion. He did play it. It's not one of his big standout champions, much more of like the Kai'Sa player, but that is something to watch out for. If HKA only do that versus Mega, or if actually potentially as they move further on in this group, by putting so much priority on Rakan, they end up with a losing bot lane because they allowed the Xayah to be separated from them.
The thing I really like about it is the fact that they've just locked in Engage in that first round, right? They've got, I can go in with these champions, and does certainly fit their play style. As Ezreal going to be taken away from Dale, of course, a player that I have a bit of history with. Of course, commentated him promoting into the LCK with ever 8 winners, and then was promptly taken out again very quickly. That was actually with Keen, of course, a pretty storied top laner over in the LCK that unfortunately didn't make it once again to the World Championships. 280 carry is going to be banned, as that Kai'Sa that you mentioned before going to be taken away here by HKA, and Mega Esports get rid of the gangplank on the top side of the map. 3Z not going to have that, and 3Z is the standout name here for HKA for me. Of course, was their big player when you and I were commentating Rift Rivals last year.
I think 3Z is a bit streaky, however. Like, some games he looks amazing, and then some games his mentality just doesn't shift, and he tries to play hyper aggressive when he doesn't have it. And though Quinn was banned in our first series, it is actually going to get through. I expect it to be a top laner, but of course it is a flex pick.
Yep, Uzi certainly showing us that you can theoretically flex it to the bottom lane. Don't know whether that's necessarily a thing we want to see happen again, but
this is a bird comp.
Yeah, there is a lot of flying around. What's the next pick then? Anivia? We go on Anivia mid lane?
You know something's gotten real strange if we see the Anivia locked in.
No, that has to be it though, right? I'll be very disappointed if it doesn't happen. As the Syndra is going to slip through the ban phase once again. So it's going to be locked down by G4 most likely. but could, of course, be in that bottom lane, pairing Syndra with Thresh. Something that could happen and something that could still happen with Tristana. Now, the decision as far as AD carries are concerned.
Now, what I really like about what Mega have put together before we see what HKA are going to fill out with their composition is that there are so many different avenues of attack. You have hard CC and gank set up in every single lane. So it really allows Lloyd to kind of pick and choose how is the lane phase going, what do these matchups look like, and he has the option that he can attack anywhere top, mid, or bottom. As HKA would round out, though, I really like the Corki pick because you can have the early Hex Shrinker itemization into the Syndra to just deny the all-in unless Syndra gets snowballed that farther ahead of you, so I think it's super safe. Otherwise, HKA, they've got a lot more scaling. I like to call them bridge options in a sense of kind of bridging you from your early game to your mid game or your late game in the Quinn and Lee Sin. So a lot of eyes are going to be on Crash and 3Z in the early sections of this game to make sure that HKA allow Corki and Xayah to scale up to those 3 items.
We'll see how the teamfights are going to go, because still a very squishy roster and will mean that Lloyd can hold on to relevance for much longer in this game on the Rex side that does like to take the Halo Blades and get a lot of damage down early. We saw Ananasik doing great things on the pickup earlier on. Of course, Ender, thank you so much for taking us through his fantastic jungle pathing. But like you say, I like the combination of Corki and Xayah. It is a tale as old as time as far as the similar range on these two and the fact that you have perfect damage balance between these two champions.
Which is why I also really love that Mega put priority on Tristana, one of the few champions that can match some of that range, especially with something like a Syndra or even a Cassiopeia. I think as we go longer into the tournament, watch these two champions and how often they're matched up together, because it's impossible to dive back and kill Tristana if she's always standing next to these types of mages. The Scatter the Weak, the Cassiopeia ultimate, it basically creates this massive buffer zone in front of her that just lets Tristana abuse you with her superior range and walk front to back in team fights.
Not to mention, Buster Shot pretty good for the self-peel, as well as Flay being available from the Thresh that you're going to have on the bottom side of the map. But the Lovers duo certainly formidable on the side of HKA. I like both of these compositions. Let's see which one comes out on top as we get into game 2 of the day. Mega versus HKA.
And I think this is going to be one of the question answers today. You know, what...
A question answer.
Question
eh?
answers, yeah.
I like a question.
I thank goodness
like
I speak for a living.
The 2-in-1 special.
This is going to answer a lot of our... Man, now you threw me off. No one really knows what to expect from any of these teams. To be frank, the real talk is these regions are so lopsided. These teams come in and they smash. They maybe lose like 3 games an entire split. Now, HKA played a lot more games in the LMS, only lost to teams like J-Team and AHQ, kind of the other representatives, dropped a couple of games. No, I think they 2-0'd Flash Wolves every single time, so never mind. But it's this idea of how good are they really? Because in their own regions, it is nothing but dominance. These are the top end of everything that you could see from the VCS and the LST.
Yeah, these are things that we've spoken about before. It's like the big fish, little pond syndrome, and how much of a small pond is it that you're dealing with? And thankfully, we're going to be able to find out a little bit more about it here now as the minions finally crash in the mid lane. Bit of HKA history on your screen right there. Second Worlds appearance for this squad, and we don't want to talk about their first one. Let's just move on past that. But that was with Mission on the roster, and now 3Z finds Rocky. And looking a little bit like a crocodile poacher here towards the top side of the map. Can be a rough matchup, especially early for the Renekton.
But this actually might be indicative of the rest of the meta that we see through not just plans, but also into Worlds. If Renekton continues to be such a high priority, he's going to get knocked down a bunch of pegs against these ranged top laners. We saw it in the previous series where the Quinn was banned, the Kennen was banned when you had a priority pick on Renekton, and now you're seeing why. Yes, he's super dominant in lane, but against ranged top laners, like you say, they can really abuse him.
Well, G4 going to miss the scat of the week there onto Mission. Also sidesteps the sphere that goes down.
Taking fleet footwork on the Corki as opposed to one of the other multiple keystones that guy is versatile to bring with, so taking a lot of respect into the matchup.
How are you feeling about the teleport instead of the cleanse, though? Of course, sometimes cleanse almost necessary into the Syndra, being able to avoid the follow-up sphere for the extra combo damage. As the hook is going to land bottom side of the map, good play back there as well, but Kaiwing not going to be too worried about the situation presented.
I think the difference between taking the teleport summoner and a combat summoner, something like either the ignites, the cleanses, the heals, things that either help you prevent an all-in or look for an all-in. It's just about how you get pressure in the lane differently then. So Corki and Mission will be able to get pressure by kind of cheating backs, getting onto the field when his opponent is kind of walking back to lane, since Syndra opted for the heal here. And then it's a question of what does he do with that extra time? Is this a TP when he has access to a package? Is this using a package on one side and then TPing back to his lane? So that's what we need to keep track of with a summoner spell like that. Or if he just gets blasted because he eats a Scatter of the Weak and then gets knocked up by Lloyd and dies, probably going to wish he had that cleanse.
Yep, 3Z, he's going to have lane priority here, which is why G4 wasn't able to exert dominance, and it looks like this blue buff isn't even going to be touched by Lloyd, going to concede that, and the idea of a Hail of Blades Rek'Sai conceding anything is a really weird thought for me, and he's going to move back and prove us wrong anyway, so just delayed a little bit there as far as that particular camp's take. And another hook going to land on the bottom side, but it's going to be turned into an engage opportunity. Good buffer there on the rocket jump, and Diol going to be absolutely fine.
I think when you're playing Thresh, you kind of have to think about the idea of kind of multiple rotations through your spells. I know a lot of times in solo queue, people will just play the Thresh like, okay, I'm looking for the all-in. If I find that hook, I'm absolutely taking it. We're killing him here and now. But in professional play, it's a lot more slower. It's usually kind of the third hook is the charm, especially when you're playing around the windows of the attack speed steroid between Xayah and Rakan. You'll see Thresh look for the hook, trade some health down. He'll hit one eventually, Atlas, I promise.
I'm waiting, man. I'm waiting.
He'll hit the hook, put some trade damage down, and then they'll wait out the steroid from Xayah and Rakan and kind of look for these little trades.
Well, see whether Pop gets in position to land another one. So far, his eye has certainly been in, as that's a great use of the Vault there from 3Z to get out of the way of the Ruthless Predator. And Rocky going to push a minion wave into this turret and possibly buy himself a back timing. Actually, the farm looking pretty good here for the Croc. As another hook going to come in. Hook to flay practice here for Pop on the bottom side. Not actually going to be getting them too much, though. As you say, it's sort of a little bit more fishing. And even though he's landing them, he's sending them back.
I think it's also just really hard with the Keystone from Rakan to make any of that damage stick. Because you can see it's Thresh, Death Sentence into Flay, into Auto Attack, into Trist Auto, into E.
Yeah.
And they're like hoping that that's enough. And then Rakan's like, I just throw my Q, get some health back. Guardian comes through. Totally fine.
But it is buying a little bit of space here. So Dale, you can see with a little bit extra CS here in this lane. Another hook. That one's going to be a minion. Not exactly the kind of prize that he wanted to get from that particular ocean.
Also nice that Pop took the coin if he's going to be throwing out Qs like this and looking for these types of trade patterns. Not only for obviously the gold coin, but for the mana coin. To keep him topped up so he can constantly look for those Qs rather than relying on some of the other advantages from some of those support items.
Well, that's going to be another buffered rocket jump. Pretty textbook as far as how to deal with the Rakan on the Tristana. Feeling pretty comfortable here as both junglers paid a bit of a visit, but otherwise not too much going to come from it. 200 gold is going to be the lead here for Mega in theory, but basically means nothing at this stage. We'll see whether the Rek'Sai can find something now as
Flash play?
Tunnels on forward. That's going to be that flash play that you were talking about, and Lloyd going to be flashing as well. Another hook going to land as First Blood comes on over. Dell was looking for the reset, but decides not to go too far as Crash was making his way down. Great start for Mega.
And really good timing from Lloyd right there, making sure that the wave was finally about to push back in towards Mega, so he had the opportunity to look for that gank and then just found the hole in the vision.
Really clean stuff. Now Lloyd going to go back into his jungle feeling much better. I think that if Crash is going to pay another visit, it's going to feel a little bit better if you're Lloyd, as we have a look at this one once again.
And it's just the fact that HKA didn't respect standing on that side of the lane when they didn't have vision. Now, to be fair to them, their jungler had just been down there. So ships passing in the night, it was a 2-second difference of, yeah, we're totally fine, or at least just check this bush. You weren't fine.
Yeah, very much not. I loved Lloyd's sidestep at the grand entrance there as well. Just really well mechanically played, straight into the flash, locking down the Xayah. So this means that Dale's going to be even more comfortable.
And kind of focusing on Lloyd a little bit. Did you just say Dale?
Well, it's basically Dale. It's hard for me with a... Do you know what we call him?
We know it says...
We just called him Jewel.
We know it says Duel.
Yeah.
We've heard it is pronounced Daewul, so we can read. We're just trying to.
We're trying to read it correctly.
Twitch chat's freaking out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just going to call him Dale, apparently.
So G4, Lloyd, and Rocky have kind of been the core of, I think, international appearance from the LST. And
yeah, going all the way back to the Bangkok Titans.
Yeah,
right?
C forever. And Lloyd in particular, this guy has position swapped multiple times. Was previously the ADC, has now swapped back into the jungle. So obviously kind of like the core of C as a region. And it's always nice to see him return to the stage and see a familiar face, because every time I'm in planes, I'm like, okay, where's G4, Lloyd, and Rocky? I'm ready to see these guys again take another shot at it. And unfortunately, last time we saw them at MSI, they went 2-4. They did take a game off of Vega Squadron, who ended up kind of being the team to beat. So they did kind of rise to the occasion finally. But a lot of their fans felt the sentiment that you didn't get to see Mega's playstyle, that they went to an international stage, they had a brand new jungler, and they kind of choked or they fell apart. So this is, again, that redemption storyline that we're talking about, that we actually just want to see Mega play their style and represent their region with pride.
Well, if you're an Oceanic viewer, throughout the years, of course, you will recognize G4's name, but probably not with as much happiness as you there, Frostgrim, because he's denied our teams so many times.
I was with you on that cast, Chiefs versus Bangkok Titans. You cried.
I did. It was devastating. That was our year. What was that, 2016?
Yeah.
Oh, it was tough times. It was really tough times. And after a 2015, that was also very difficult for us in that particular office, but I digress. Package delivered to the mid lane, as Mission just going to be eliminating minions with it. And G4 handed over a blue buff. Plenty of time to talk.
We talked about some of the itemization choices that Corki could have as a possible pick into Syndra, as we see her rise in prominence in plans so far. And he's opted not to go for the Hexdrinker, and said, yeah, he does have the health crystal and the component of the Phage. But I think he's actually just kind of testing his luck, wanted to see how the lane phase would go, and he's like, I'm not actually really feeling threatened by G4 here. He's not hitting his Scatter the Weak, he's not laying down, making a lot of that damage stick, and so probably opting to not diverge his damage by looking for that Hexdrinker early and instead going straight towards the Trinity.
And also going to be much more difficult to hit, because now has Rage passive and the Fleet Footwork, so a lot of extra movement speed here for Mission. But is going to be potentially face checking a jungler and mid laner. Not going to be too worried about it, is yeah, you can't keep doing that. The slices straight into the Quinn aren't necessarily working out.
But this is crazy. You almost never see this, and a lot of HKA are getting access to this river because Xayah and Rakan had gotten priority over the bot lane and then rotated up. But the fact of the matter is that Corki is a late-game insurance policy. His lane phase is super safe, but he's not very good in skirmishes, whereas someone like a Syndra and a Hail of Blades Rek'Sai hit like a truck if they hit their skill shots. Well, if Syndra hits their skill shots. So the fact that Mega actually just got forced off of river control there is actually a pretty big deal. It shouldn't work like that.
Well, they're going to get forced out even further as Lloyd down to about half health and actually smites Crash. Interesting. He's trying to dodge a Q and does so very nicely. I don't know whether he necessarily needs to. Not very many friends around to help Crash out there, but maybe Lloyd just without enough information. Bottom lane going to move on back here for HKA, and we've got a back timing for Mega. A possibility for this Mountain Drake if HKA want it.
I'm going to be frank here. Crash just completely bullied Lloyd out of the jungle. And I think a lot of that was on G4. I think G4 needed to collapse. Now, G4 was getting zoned away by Mission, throwing out those rockets, but I think G4 needs to be a lot more proactive and a lot more aggressive here. He is the firepower of his team, especially as a level 9 Syndra. If he hits you, he will chunk you out of the fight.
Well, we'll see whether he can hit this one as he throws down the orb. Valkyrie now on cooldown as the rest of HK moving on up. We've got a teleport to come in. Mega are committing to this fight. Good stun is going to land. Stolen is the Mountain Drake, but the kill is going to go over. And Lloyd is already dead. Disengage options now as 3Z. He's already flown down. The Skyfall's coming in as Rocky just copping auto attack after auto attack. Over the wall there with the slice, and it looks like Mega should be able to make their way out, but Harrier should be proccing yet again. No, not going to find it. As 3Z moves on back, so kill for a Mountain Drake. There are arguments for good on both sides.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Mega right there. This Drake, so important, obviously, for its early access into Baron, potentially. But because HKA were able to force Mega behind their tower, they're going to try to walk this directly into the Rift Herald, while Mega are trying to scramble to get back in position on this map. Here comes the TP.
Yep, another TP into another pit, this time on the north, as we've got a flash, but the hook is going to land. The Scatter the Weak was good this time as G4, they're trying to deliver it to him, but Pop says, nope, we're not going to do it this time. Can't risk a Valkyrie coming off cooldown as Shelly is going to change her attention over to Lloyd. Mega, they definitely won that one.
Yeah, HKA overreach, and that's going to feel real bad, man. You had this setup on the Mountain Drake. It's stolen away from you. You say, it's fine. We can rock up to the Rift Herald. That one's taken away from you as well. Tristana now rotates into mid lane. Not one, not two, but potentially 3 plates. Two and a half. 2.5 plates.
Not going to commit too hard, of course. Running out of minion wave is the problem there, as Lloyd not going to be bullied out of the way of this Rift Scuttler and takes that one comfortably after taking down the Scuttler's mother in Shelly. Going to be utilized in one of these lanes. We'll see where he goes to try and grab some plates. 1 minute left on that one, and he's going to use the faster back timing and probably not going to find any money from Shelly.
So taking another look at this one, it is going to be, I think, the hero move from Lloyd to a smite to steal this one away.
That was a attack, I think.
It was. It's fine. A bunch of flashes on the back end of it. Unfortunately, not a lot of the CC training, but this is kind of where things went from bad to worse for HKA. That teleport in particular, Mission definitely needed his team to plant their feet and defend him, because that's a one-way ticket.
Yeah. And also did use the Valkyrie, didn't get over the wall, so that's going to be the problem. Is we are going to eat these last couple of plates here. Shelly will pile on through and gets the most valuable turret here for Mega. So a great start here for the Southeast Asian squad.
So there were 2 ways, or not just 2, there were a couple ways you could have played that. You use the Rift Herald and you take down that mid lane tower. You just called it the most valuable in terms of access and opening up to the map. Or you use it with your Tristana, because we're still so early, or excuse me, well now it's crested over. You use it with your Tristana to try to get some of those plates off and try to snowball Tristana even further ahead of the clock, because having her on 3 items means so much more in this game.
I didn't know that Lloyd was actually going to be able to get to one of these side lanes to take out those plates after he backed, and there was only a minute to go, so I'm impressed that they were able to get those last couple of plates mid.
And I think that was the call on it. It was just the fact that they didn't set it up, and then they just immediately had to use it to make the most bang for their buck. But now my concern is with the map being so open now, these kind of outer towers falling down, I actually don't think that Mega's composition does very well on an open map. They do really well when they're grouped up, and Rocky unfortunately hasn't gotten the type of lead that he's needed. He's 30 CS down, so if they want to sit in a 1-4 formation, I think Rocky will just be punished by 3Z on this Quinn. So I'm curious how Mega are now going to kind of navigate this open map state.
Well, Mega, what they're doing is they're putting a Tristana into the inner turret of their opponent on the bottom side of the map. So feeling very comfortable.
But that could be a great adaptation. If your Renekton didn't get the lead that he wanted because he just got pushed in on his head by Quinn, then you feel that you have the safety on the Tristana. You're getting solo experience, solo gold. She's got the rocket jump, the booster jump. She can push it away. And again, you're trying to get that snowball for Daewoo ahead of the clock.
And also he has so much vision there on the bottom side of the map as well. So he was relatively comfortable just moving up and getting pressure on the inner turret. Isn't going to press his luck though as he moves back towards the mid lane just to try and eat some more of those red dots. Crash. Looking for this Rift Scuttler, does get it. Lloyd is going to just smite him to say no. It is going to be, luckily, for HKA going their way. And 35 seconds now on that Infernal Drake, and that is why that Scuttle vision is so important. We'll see whether HKA can actually put up a fight for this one. It's 2 very important Drakes as our first rolls.
And as we come into this potential Drake fight, I do want to highlight a key item, the stopwatch actual pickup from Mission here, because that could be the difference maker if the Syndra ultimate is able to completely burst him out, or when he uses that stopwatch, as well as now having the completed Trinity Force. So I think that window, if this is a 5v5 around Infernal, is kind of the moment to watch for where this game is going to break. Does Mission survive the team fight and output all that DPS on the Corki, or does he just get blown up?
We've currently got a Zeal instead of a rapid fire cannon as well, but Pop already taking so much damage there in the mid lane. Gets the heal out from Dale as well, as we've got a fight on 2 fronts. Lloyd taking a bit of damage, looked like he didn't notice as he starts off on these Raptors, and now HKA, they're going to poke the dragon and see whether they can actually secure this one. Remember last time it was stolen away from them, and they're not going to opt in for that situation yet again.
But you can see they didn't set up their lanes correctly. HKA, they assist ping on the mid and the bot wave. Mega have priority in both bot lane and mid lane, which will give them a faster access and rotation into this river. They can now try to clear out this vision, potentially set up a trap, start the Infernal. Not maybe my favorite call, but I think they'll get it.
Yeah, they are certainly going to get it. It was right under the noses of HKA. Of course, had vision of the area with the Rift Scuttler that we were talking about earlier, but very cleanly done by Mega. They just pushed HKA out of the way and grabbed the very coveted objective. So now Mountain and Infernal as we move towards that ever-present Baron buff coming up in 2.5 minutes.
And you'll hear us talk about the word fundamentals a lot in the play-ins, especially when we're looking at kind of very different teams with vastly different tournament structures and just kind of levels of international experience. And that's kind of, again, a perfect snapshot of what we mean when we're talking about fundamentals. The fact that HKA didn't attribute time to their waves to give them access to walk into the Infernal. So Mega did the right thing. They were just patient. They waited for the waves to pull HKA out of the Infernal pit and then took the Drake for free rather than trying to force the fight, which, great play.
Yeah, pretty nicely done. 18 minutes now on the clock as we're looking for another objective. 3Z, he thinks that it's going to be Rocky, as doesn't land the blind, but this is a Crocodile that just can't really move out from underneath his turret.
And also a potential win condition now for HKA. They've been playing on the back foot. They don't have the gold lead right now, sitting in between a lot of different item breakpoints. We talked about that bridge where you need 3Z to really
3Z
pop off.
looking for the solo kill. The flash comes in. He outplays him. No! Oh, he never even hit him, so it's an execution. So in theory, that's good news for 3Z, but man, that was so close and then so far.
Round two, up top, let's go.
Yeah, we land a stopwatch really nicely as G4. He's like, I got no buttons left, can't do anything, and he's going to be dead. The rest of his team turn up, but they're way too late. Still a 3v3, and it looks like they want it as Dale's going to use his rocket jump to close the gap. It's Crash! Oh my god, Pop, that was a hook. To end all the hooks is now Kaiwing. He's trying to offer something, but doesn't get there. Pop is holding this team together, I swear.
That was the glimpse. That was HKA. Like, okay, we've got it. We got the win condition. We have Quinn in the side lane. That didn't work. Okay, top lane. We got top lane. That didn't work either.
And now it did a little bit.
And now Mega, again, winning across map. Armin. Rocky just shoved that wave all the way into 3Z's tower. He's now made his back. He's feeling much happier, much more healthier than he was. He was starting to really feel that CS discrepancy. It's still there a bit. But
let's have a look at it one more time. Take us through what happened, Frosco.
Okay, so Rocky's not going to hit him, and 3Z is going to chase through the tower. He flashes, matches flash for flash, doesn't get the auto off, and then the final tower shot and the minions.
And Rocky didn't even need to use Color Meek or anything like that. Didn't need to do anything fancy. Just wandered around underneath the turret. I liked it. This is that stopwatch you were talking about before, used to perfect effect. And then G4 had no buttons to save himself, but Pop comes in. Wait for this hook onto Crash. It's really nice.
Yeah, good CC follow-up. Not necessarily predicts the flash, but obviously recognizes that Lee Sin's probably going to instantly flash.
Having a look at the gold, Dale's still looking fantastic. Stop laughing at me, okay? I've got an Australian accent. It's difficult to pronounce things effectively, and I live in Korea.
Dale over here on Tristana.
Yeah. But he's 1.4k ahead. This is a Trist that's feeling real great at 20 minutes into the game.
Yeah, he's almost completed his third item.
That's a lot of critical strike.
That means that to win this game, again, we talked about the win condition potentially for HKA.
Look at these firsts.
Well,
that were not they were not his stats.
I watched
in the LCK. Let me say that
a lot of
Mega
improved in summer, and it's just Mega punching down. But the crazy thing is Mega weren't even considered the favorite team to be here. It was a team called Win. But when it came to their playoff format, Win actually got upset by one of the weakest teams in the LST, and then Mega just steamrolled through.
Yeah, it's like there was a turn-off that Win took, and it wasn't a great one. It's like, you know how you look for that shortcut, and then unfortunately it's actually just a brick wall? Like, damn. Well, maybe, better luck next year, 2020. Maybe the vision's going to be stronger.
Rocky's hugging his tower. He's like, I've got it.
Yeah,
this is my best friend.
I know how to outplay this one. Just needs to hit an ability on him this time. That's all he needs to worry about.
So what I would like to see HK actually do is decide that Xayah and Rakan will be okay in this mid lane to hold it and wave clear, and actually team Crash up with 3Z and try to continually punish Rocky. Now maybe they're a bit gun shy because that dive didn't work very well, but I still think that's an opportunity of avenue for them to attack, because if you're just forcing waves back and forth, you got a Xayah, they got a Tristana, like, I'm going to call it execution based on who's going to outscale there. So I think that they could be looking for side lanes to attack, which you can see that Mission is getting some work done.
He is certainly attacking a side lane. He is very, very deep. And Crash is here just flanking as well, looks for Agatha or the Gronk on the blue side of the map. For those of you who don't watch the LCK, and Mega are just going to go on down and pick up their second Mountain Drake, meaning that if a Baron is something they want to look at, they're not going to have to look at it for very long.
And that's the concerning thing here for HKA. It's that if you are trying to find kind of table scraps into these side lanes because you're afraid of the 5v5 at this point in the game, when you're looking at double Mountain Infernal, you will be forced to 5v5 because now Mega will have so much freedom to walk up to the Baron and say, if you do not challenge us, we are going to take it instantly. So the time has come, HKA. You will have to fight them.
The thing I'm scared about, right, is that this is a really squishy composition on HKA's side, but it's not necessarily a burst composition. So how are they supposed to navigate team fights if we get to a later stage of the game, even if they do theoretically have a lot of scaling DPS on this squad?
I mean, I think right now so much responsibility is put on Mission, actually, especially if we're fighting around this Baron pit. Corki does super well with his long range, that as long as he has the vision and no one gets on top of him, he can really kind of be that one-man army to dissuade people. And then from there, it's Quinn and Lee Sin looking for divide and conquer. Separate people, try to find some of that. I mean, I agree with you, it's not necessarily burst, but just to separate someone out and kind of pick off the weak.
Okay, so a little bit like a try and poke them down, try and get them into awkward positions, get the straggler, and then move on through the rest of the team with a man advantage.
But it is so much harder to execute versus Mega's composition.
I've seen this movie before, Froskarin, as we've got the Vault to come in. Rocky taking a lot of extra damage here at the beginning, and 3Z says, nope. Not doing that one again.
But now Mega are in the situation where, again, this is the only place that HKA are feeling confident and are winning. So do you save Rocky? Do you pull him out of this? Do you try to force the 5v5 on the Baron, have confidence that you have that double Mountain? Or do you continue to let your Crocodile just get smashed by this bird?
I actually think that you just all in on the Baron right now, right? You've got two Mountain Drakes, you're going to kill that thing so quickly, but HKA have a different thing to say about it. Pop is going to go golden, as now HKA running for the hills as Rocky teleports his way forward.
And that has to be, that's the trigger. Rocky just pulled the TP. You can see Quinn is going to town.
Yeah, completely committed on the outer turret on the bottom side, so this Baron down to about half health. We're trying to get there. Flapping our wings as we're trying to get forward, but Lloyd has to go golden. G4 flashing over the wall. Crash gonna get out of the way
Quinn's here.
of the week, and finally 3Z is going to arrive, and that's because they peeled away from the Baron, trying to find kills that they didn't manage to get.
Mega are in trouble. Like you said, they were trying to find kills. They couldn't find them. They burned all of their cooldowns. Mega tried to go all in. They tried to be bold. They tried to be confident. They tried to force the Baron, and it burns them really hard. This is exactly what HKA needed to continue to stall out this game, to continue to buy time for Corki and Zaya.
Yeah, I really thought that 3Z had overstayed his welcome there on the bottom side of the map, maybe greeting for an outer turret when he could have been defending the Baron, but they made the right play. Crash was there threatening to try and steal away the Baron.
Just do it, boys.
Yeah, someone start the Baron. Let's start trying to find some of these objectives.
And you can see Mega. Mega knew. They started their backs. They stopped them. They're trying to stagger them right now. But this is so far this game is being defined by indecision.
Yeah.
These intense split-second moments. Do we do the Baron? Do we not do the Baron? And both teams have fumbled it. So someone has got to step up and make their mark.
Well, Crash is going to miss the Q. This is Eminem.
Off the hook.
Lands again. Damn. That's a targeted ability for this Pop guy, I swear. Really nice stuff. Eminem, though, only has to blow the heal, so still holds onto the flash and has that Featherstorm available pretty soon. As this Trist is getting bigger and bigger. Level 13, drawing a bead. And that range is just extending. This team fight is looking scary because Mega can just fight front to back very comfortably with this composition.
So Mega are in a situation where they're playing now without teleport. So as soon as Rocky is down there, they're playing without a numbers advantage. So they have an opportunity where they're going to get another crack at setting up this Baron, but it's going to be harder to do now because they don't have access to the Renekton. And then they're running out of time. You can now see the experience difference between 3Z and Rocky. We've been watching him just punch down on Rocky all game long. So this is your window, your shrinking opportunity. 3Z will eventually break this. Mega might be forced to make the decision on the Baron again.
But it was certainly a Rocky advantage throughout most of this game. Only recently, 3Z has been able to get him with the out farm, close to 60. This Crash just going to tag that Baron to check whether anyone's doing it. Finds out the good news. Not going to need to go in for any steals just yet. Okay. This is on repeat, pretty sure.
I wish Crash would actually just walk down there, or even better, Mission, because he's got TP.
But this could certainly happen. If Crash is going to be bottom side of the map, the Baron should belong to Mega. Sonic Wave now on cooldown. Not going to find the stun once again is G4. And that means Mega are going to pull away. Rocky, oh, he stepped a little bit too far. Blade of the Ruin King comes forward, trying to get as much health back as possible. But once again, 3Z not going to bite off more than he can chew.
So your two options if you're HKA and playing kind of this map formation is that you send down Mission with 3Z because Mission has the TP, and you actually just kill Rocky and then force the tower. And you're no longer playing to defend the Baron, you're playing to kill the bottom inhib. Or you send Crash down there. And you think that the poke damage from the Corki is able to dissuade them from the Baron. I do agree with you, because it's double mountain, probably better to leave Crash there to look for the potential steal. But if we just keep lining up in kind of this 1-4, I actually think it means less for Mega. Like, I still think that HKA's composition harder to execute, but I feel like they will be the superior, more experienced team, especially in these types of scenarios. So Mega is getting hard stalled out here. They cannot figure out how to break this problem of wanting to get this objective, and they are unsure how to continue to move their advantage in this game without Baron.
My main takeaway from that is the fact that they have a lot of options of things that they can do, and they're not doing any of those things. And we just like something to be done, you know, some sort of decision to be made in this game, because just slowly but surely farming out side lanes isn't necessarily good for either of these teams. Because HKA, I like that you talk about their composition and how it's played in the late game, because it's a finesse comp, right? Like, you don't have a front line. You need to use your poke damage, you need to use your zoning tools, and you need to use your flank potential in order to make it work, but there are only very select moments that you have to carve out of this game, and they're not necessarily doing that either. So there's certainly some criticisms on both sides.
And I actually don't know where the break point's going to be between Renekton and Quinn. It could just be that with Rocky's...
Surprise, surprise, a lot of burst damage as G4, of course, is going to be there.
It could just be with Rocky going away from the Spear of Shojin build and instead going just like straight tank, that eventually 3Z just loses the ability to kill him, continues to farm up there, but the Renekton's just unmovable.
Well, Kaiwing looks for the grand entrance, doesn't get there as Mission now throwing rockets over to the side as 3Z has found Rocky yet again. Now, with the ability to block some of these crits, certainly good for the Crocodile. You saw not taking as much damage, but still has no way to fight 3Z if he just stands there or tries to fight back. And we are super even. It is 30 minutes, about to tick over, and it's 200 as far as the gold. This is extraordinarily close. Earth, Wind, and Fire going to be the Drakes. September just passed, unfortunately.
We were, what, right on the clock for the Elder? How close was that?
Yeah, we were real close. And 5 minutes now, and that one is going to be available. Let's see, there's a lot going on, but also not a lot going on at all. Everyone's trying to, like, jockey for position.
That flash is actually really important, though. Again, we talked about it over the course of the game, how important Mission's responsibility is as like the primary damage dealer, and such a range advantage. Not having access to flash means that he obviously can't be as aggressive in his positioning. So we'll keep our eyes on Mission and see if that turns around to burn him.
Also doesn't have rapid fire cannon yet, so doesn't have that extra range on his auto attacks that can be pretty important here for the Corki. Love Corki, just power spikes everywhere. 1 item, 2 items, 3 items, 4 items. Just power spikes across the board.
I also just think the range on Corgi is pretty unfair when you're dealing at like the highest level of League of Legends, and I think that's why he's been such a staple pick for so long. Again, super safe in lane, great late game insurance policy, and then just having superior range on compositions. At the highest level, it could just, you look at who has the bigger range, you're like, that team wins.
Yeah, well, we've got a Tristana with a Bloodthirster now, so the poke from the Corki not going to be as important if he is going to find Dale in the back line. And 10 CS is the lead here for Eminem, just slightly, and he's also got his trio of items that he really likes to see. So as far as itemization, both of these teams very happy. And there is no gold in this. Someone needs to make a decision. I'm sure someone's going to at some point, Frosco. Who's your money on?
My money's on Daewoo. I feel like this game is going to...
He was already doing it. That was too easy.
This game's decided by Mission or Daewoo. Does Daewoo just get to hit people, chunk them out, walk up to a tower, and force them off? Or will Mission use his TP and help out his Quinn bottom, please?
Well, 3Z is taking inner turrets on his own, so maybe doesn't need too much help at this stage.
Rocky just gave up.
Yeah, well, I would too, to be honest. He hasn't been having a great time.
Okay, here comes a potential package flank.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to do that one.
The Corki just Corgi taking on a little bit of a walk here. Make sure you get that exercise in if you're going to be playing that skin as Lloyd.
He's
barely missed by that one.
He's playing middly right now on the
An inhibitor turret fell down. 3Z now going to try and kill the Crocodile and should be able to do it very comfortably. And if he doesn't kill the Croc, he will kill this inhibitor. There's now the slice, the dice, the vault. And no, Rocky, you're not doing nothing. And 3Z's just abusing this matchup. And the problem is Mega can't make a decision, and therefore there's nothing to be gained elsewhere on the map.
Yeah.
It's almost a flame horizon from 3Z as well. I'm really glad that we highlighted it. Of course, 3Z being a player to watch. I think if you were to talk to someone like Raz, he was certainly really up on 3Z in 2018 Rift Rivals when he was there. And I believe Marchi at the time.
Hipster Raz.
Hipster Raz, the guy loves it.
Okay, we're making the decision now. Like you said, Mega have run out of time. They're using the TP. They're going all in right now. They don't have the bottom inhib. This is it.
Right, we're going for a 50-50, boys. 2,000 health now on the
They got it!
Stolen by Crash. HKA. Can they win the team fight afterwards? Crash is going to go down very, very low, but Mission destroys Lloyd. Rocky goes golden, but then goes into the death chamber. A double kill. Now for Mission, Pop's going to go down. And the Zaya grabs one of them as well. Eminem picks it up. And now HKA, they're going to look at the enemy base and go, oh, what happened to that? It's already been destroyed.
Exactly, they're going to TP down. This is going to be the end of the game. Mega got stalled out on the Baron for what felt like years. The indecision there, how were they going to attack the map? And it was HKA with better fundamentals on the day, on the back of 3Z, split up the map, stole the Baron, and will now steal the game.
And I love this as a lesson, the price of indecision. Mega, they had the mid game, they had the control, they didn't use it, and now the Nexus will fall on their side of the map. HKA successful in their first game at Worlds.
That one was a doozy.
That was a doozy. Certainly unexpected with how the mid game went, but it is a great